Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to do my mid-month August wrap-up. So I already read 9 books in August, which is, I think, the most I've ever read during like the mid-month point. By the way, while I'm filming this, it is still August 12th, and I do anticipate me reading at least 1 or 2 books before August 15th. So there will be at the end a clip of me talking about the last 2 books I've read. I said this before, my prime filming time is during the weekends, and after work I don't have time or the energy to film an entire video, but I can film clips, so that's why I'm doing it like this. With these mid-month wrap-ups, I'll just do them in order of when I read them, and then in my end of the month wrap-up, I'll talk about the books I read in order of my enjoyment. And that's also where you get the stats and how I'm doing with my goals. So let's get started. I started the month off DNFing a book actually, and it's Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. I've been reading this book, let me see, since June, at the beginning of June. And I've been struggling with this series and especially this book. So I read the Farseer trilogy, and I really loved it because we followed one character that I really loved, Fitz, whereas in this book, you follow multiple perspectives, and I don't like any of them. And I know this is a very popular trilogy. I know a lot of people prefer this over the Farseer trilogy, and I don't, honestly. I have to at least root for somebody, and I didn't root for anybody in this. So I decided to just cut my losses and just DNF it. I don't think I'll ever get back to this book, but if I do, I don't know. I just feel like I really want to continue on with the Fitz books. So, and since I actually read the first 2. So that's why I was hesitant to DNF it, because I already invested so much time and I've already read so many pages in this series. But at the end of the day, it just hindered my enjoyment for reading. So I just decided to cut my losses. Maybe I'll watch like a spoiler discussion of the series and then move on to the rest of the Elderling books. And I had already read, let me see, 256 pages of this book. So, but this is a giant book. It has like over 900 pages. So it was gonna take me some effort to finish it. And I just decided that I really didn't want to do that. Then I had a reread. I reread The Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. I'd only read this once before, and I really want to continue on with the series. And I decided to reread the first 2 before continuing on. So this is a very interesting book. It is an enemies to lovers romance. It's fantasy romance. Basically, Laura has been trained her whole life to marry the king of Ithacana, so that when she marries him, she can actually kill him. Basically, Ithacana is called the Bridge Kingdom because they are vital in trade between all different sorts of kingdoms. This bridge is very valuable, and they basically have a monopoly on this bridge, and anytime somebody wants to use this bridge, they have to pay tolls. And Lara is a princess from another kingdom, and her father basically wants to take over this bridge because whoever has the bridge has the power. So Lara and her 11 sisters have been trained to basically marry him, seduce him, kill him. And once it's time to decide which sister gets to go, Laura kills all of her sisters so she can be the one to go. So eventually she gets to the Bridge Kingdom and realizes that a lot of what she's been told has been lies. She starts to get to know Aaron, and they fall in love, and it's really, really good. It's one of my favorite fantasy romances, and this basically is a series of 3 duologies. Aaron and Laura's story, you follow them in the first 2 books, and then the second and third book, which I still have to read, follow her brother and another person that we meet in the second book, actually. So yeah, even though I didn't have to reread this because we follow a different couple in the third and fourth book, I really wanted to because I really love this book, and this reread definitely did not disappoint. I loved it as much as I did the first time. Then I read Red, White, and Royal Blue in I say I gave this 5 stars, an easy 5 stars, by the way. Then I read Red, White, and Royal Blue in anticipation for the movie that came out on August 11th. I had not read this book yet. I know it has been out for since 2019. I think I've owned it since 2019, and I finally read it. I actually did a non-spoiler vlog of me reading the book and watching the movie. So if you're interested in my thoughts on that, I'll leave that linked for you. I think a lot of you already know what this is about, but it's basically a love story between the son of the US president and the Prince of England. Basically they hate each other, and at the wedding, like at the royal wedding, they have a fight to keep the relationship solid between the UK and the US. They decide that they have to go on this press tour, pretend that they are friends. So they do that, and they start to get to know each other a little bit better. And then they start to send emails back and forth, talk to each other, and then they become friends, and then they become more. It's very cute. I really loved it. I gave it 4 stars because even though I did really enjoy it, I felt it was 100 pages too long. This could have been condensed a little bit. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was 100 pages less. Plus, there were some storylines in here that I didn't really care about, mainly the politics storyline. And I did feel like the movie did a good job in condensing that. Yeah, I don't really care about politics. I don't want to really read about it in my fictional books, especially like real life politics, because they did talk about issues that are real to our world. But yeah, overall, I did really enjoy it. And if you want to know more of my in-depth thoughts, definitely check out that vlog I did. Okay, so I finished the Hathaway series. There were 2 books in between, but I'm just going to talk about the whole series back to back. So I read the last 3 books in the Hathaway series. First book I'm going to talk about is Tempt Me at Twilight. This is the 3rd book in the Hathaway series, and I really loved it. This follows Poppy Hathaway. She and her family have been staying at the Rutledge Hotel, which is this luxury hotel that pretty much everybody stays at if you read any of Lisa Kleypas's books. And she's falling in love with some guy. But since the Hathaways are this very eccentric family, he's afraid that his dad is not going to accept Poppy. So he's basically kind of like stringing her along, and Harry Rutledge, the owner of this famous hotel, has his eyes set on Poppy, and he basically kind of finagles his way into her life, and then he kind of does some shady things to get her to marry him. So eventually she kind of is forced to marry him. So she basically tells him that she will marry him, but she'll never love him, and he's like, that's fine by me. And this story is so good. I loved Harry and Poppy together. I loved this, like, kind of, they start as basically, well, first of all, they don't start as hate to love, because she's very intrigued by him until she realizes what he's done. And then it becomes kind of hate, like a hate situation. And then they fall in love. Is really good. This kind of reminds me a little bit of Beauty and the Beast. Not that he's a beast, because he's not. He's described as very attractive, but everything surrounding him. Like, he's a recluse, and basically his staff at the hotel are doing like finagling things to make sure that he falls in love with her. It really reminded me of, you know, the staff in Beauty and the Beast, in the Beauty and the Beast movie, when they kind of do things to get them to fall in love with each other. That, like, those 2 aspects really reminded me of Beauty and the Beast. So if you love Beauty and the Beast, I would highly recommend this one. I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was an easy 5 stars. In fact, I gave all of the books in the Hathaways 5 stars. If you've not read this series, I would highly recommend it. My favorite book was Married by Morning, which is the 4th book. Okay, so the Hathaways are a family of 4 sisters and 1 brother, and in Married by Morning, we follow the brother, Leo. Leo is a tortured hero, my poor baby. Before the events of the 1st book, Leo was in love with a girl, and then she died of Spanish fever, and that basically broke him. In the 1st book, he is just doing everything to self-destruct, drinking, gambling, just doing everything and just not caring about anything, and basically ruining his life, and as a proxy ruining his sister's lives as well. So in the 2nd book, we see him being, like, between the 1st and 2nd book, he gets shipped off to France to basically get his shit together. Starting in the 2nd book, the Hathaways have a little bit more money to spend, so they hire this companion called Catherine to basically make sure that the 2 youngest sisters get ready for society so they can find suitable matches. And we see from the 2nd book on that Leo and Catherine hate each other. She hates him for being the kind of man that she despises, rich, stuck up, arrogant, and a rake. And he hates her for being this stuck up, prim and proper person that cannot take a joke. And basically their banter from the second book was amazing, and I've been anticipating their book from the second book on. So I would highly recommend, if you want to read Married by Morning, to read at least the second and third book as well, because you see the progression of their relationship before reading Married by Morning. This couple is so good together. I love their banter. I love how they, like, she can match him and is not afraid to tell him, even though he's technically her employer, she's not afraid to tell him what she thinks of him, gives him shit. She doesn't like, or tell him what to do. I really, really love that. And yeah, this was such a good book, and I like it. Definitely lived up to my expectations for it. And then last but most certainly not least is the fifth book, Love in the Afternoon. Also gave it 5 stars. We follow Beatrix, who, she's a very unconventional type of girl. She loves animals more than she loves people. She has basically a whole menagerie at her house of like all these animals that she rescued because there was something wrong with them. Other people did not want them. Actually, if for the Tessa Dare lovers out there, this really reminded me of the Wallflower Wager, even though it was published before the Wallflower Wager. Yeah, so she loves animals, and yeah, so that's basically her backstory. She has a friend who's this like beauty of the ton, and an officer in the army has been writing her letters, and she's really not interested in responding. So Beatrix, feeling sorry for him, starts to write him letters, pretending to be her friend, and they basically fall in love while writing these letters. And then he comes back a war hero, and suddenly this friend who was not interested in writing to him becomes interested in him. And Beatrix is just heartbroken because she's fallen in love with him, and he doesn't know who she is. He's, in the meantime, he has a pretty big case of PTSD. He's a wounded war hero, cannot sleep, has been drinking a lot, has been having flashbacks of the war, and especially that comes about when he's sleeping. And he also, since she loves animals, he has this dog that he got after one of his friends died. So when he comes back, they start bonding a little bit through the dog, and slowly but surely he realizes that she's the one that's been writing him these letters. This was so good. I loved it. I love this tortured hero, and I love Beatrix. And I love that they're it's pretty much an opposites attract romance, because he's a very conventional type of guy. He's used to women being a certain way, and she's the complete opposite of that. She wears breeches. And also one of the reasons why she was hesitant to tell him who she was, because she thought he hated her, because she overheard him tell his friend before he went off to war that she belongs in the stables because she's constantly around animals. She brought like her porcupine with her to like a lunch. So it was really good. I really loved it. I loved her, and I really loved him as well. So yes, honestly, if you've not read Lisa Kleypas, I would highly recommend her. If you've not read a historical romance, I would highly recommend her as an entry point. And The Hathaways, I think, is a very good place to start. Definitely a very, very good series, in my opinion. I do have to say one thing. So in the first and second book, which I did not talk about because I didn't read them this month, both the girls fall in love with Romani men. And in the book, it does use the slur for Romanis. So if you're uncomfortable with that, I get it. But I do have to say that that's probably how they were referred to back then. But nevertheless, I think in the audiobooks, they removed that slur. But yeah, in the ebooks that I read, it's still in there. Okay, so then I read The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I'm actually doing a vlog where I read this book, the second book, and then another series. So that's not out yet, but once it is, I will link it, and definitely watch that if you want to know more of my in-depth thoughts. This book has been on my TBR for years, and this is I finally read it. So this is about Hannah and Garrett, and Garrett is this popular hockey guy, and Hannah is just pretty low-key. Nobody really knows who she is except her friends. And she has this crush on this new football player. But she's not, because of events that happened in the past, it's not a spoiler because you find out pretty early on she has been raped when she was 15. She has kind of issues around sex and also around guys. And Garrett, like I said, he's this hockey player, but he has to keep his grades up to continue to play hockey. And this philosophy course, basically ruining his grades, and everybody kind of failed the midterm exam except for Hannah. Once he realized that, he kind of begs her to tutor him, and she doesn't want to, and he keeps persisting and persisting and persisting, and she still doesn't want to, until he realizes that she has a crush on this football player. So he offers a deal. He tells her that this football player is going to be more interested in her if she's seen with him because he's so popular. So he asks her to tutor him, and in exchange, they will kind of fake date a little bit so that the hockey player or the football player will be interested in her. So they do that, and in doing that, they slowly become friends, and then she confides in him like her issues with sex, that she's never had an orgasm with another guy. It becomes like a teach me scenario where he is like, he's gonna help her with that and make sure that, you know, that she will. And it was so sweet because he did some research of what's gonna make her more comfortable, and it was so adorable. I really loved Garrett. He's such a good guy, even though he's really arrogant in the beginning and he's kind of douchey in the beginning. He was, I from the beginning, I found him to be, I don't know, I was charmed by him, but then after that, I was like head over heels for him. He's such a good love interest, and I really loved seeing them together. Then I read Lore Olympus Volume 4. Oh, I gave the deal 5 stars, by the way. An easy 5 stars. I gave a lot, like I had a good beginning of my reading month because I gave a lot of books 5 stars. Let me actually count. Yeah, 6 books 5 stars. One of them was a reread though. Yeah, so anyway, Lore Olympus. So this is the 4th volume. I gave this 5 stars. I gave all of them 5 stars so far. Lore Olympus is a Hades and Persephone retelling. So it's a comic. This is the 4th volume. I cannot really tell you a whole lot about it. It's a slow burn romance between Hades and Persephone. And this is, by the way, a webtoon comic, meaning that you can read it for free online. So if you're interested but not willing to pay a lot of money for these hardback comics, you can definitely read it online. However, I don't really love reading comics online, so that's why I buy them. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's such a good Hades and Persephone retelling. And then I read 2 novellas. I read Caught by the Convicts by Jessica Kane. This is just a smutty good time. This is an MMF smutty novella about this girl who goes to this prison. She's basically scared of her dad, who is in prison, and she goes to this prison to see that he is actually behind bars so that she can stop being scared of him. And there she meets these 2 inmates who basically bang her right away. This basically peak Jessica Kane. There's this prison riot going on, kind of a half prison break. And she gets saved by these 2 inmates. They bring her to their cell and they have their wicked way with her. And then they obsess over her, as every Jessica Kane hero does. And then they go find her, and then it becomes an MMF relationship. I gave it 4 stars because, first of all, it was a smutty good time. I did enjoy myself. But also, for like a 66-page novella, it had a surprising good amount of backstory. Like by the MMF is difficult for me. As much as I love the trope, I have to be convinced, because in an MMF, well, in any poly relationship, I have to be convinced of not just one relationship, I have to be convinced of 3 relationships. Because obviously you have the man with the other man, you have the man with the woman, and the other man with the woman. Those are 3 relationships. And I did feel like, even though, yes, it was weird, like, but that is what I get with Jessica, and I knew that it was going to be into love with the girl. I did love the explanation of the 2 men. I love their backstory. Like, I thought she did a good job with 66 pages with their backstory and why they would be in love with each other. So that was really good. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. This is only the 2nd Jessica Kane novella that I've read. And I did prefer it over the other one. I don't remember which one that was. I can look it up though. Yeah, anyway, whatever. Goodreads is so slow lately. Anyway, so The Chambermaid is the last novella I read by Saber Vale. This is actually Chambermaid Volume 2. Chambermaid 2. So The Chambermaid, so this is the 2nd book and the last book, I think, in the series. The first book I really liked. And this one I enjoyed a little bit less. I gave it 3 stars. Basically, it is about this chambermaid who basically just bangs her boss. And in the first book, she gets purchased by this man. I believe she was a virgin, and then he kind of has sex with her, and then his son also has sex with her, and then pretty much they invite a bunch of people. They also have sex. It basically just every chapter in this book, she has sex with at least one person. And once again, it's just smutty good time. But this second book, in the last book, she gets purchased, or she gets whisked away by another, like a friend of the son of that first book. And so she becomes his chambermaid, but she's not really treated very well. I felt like she had a better time in like the first house. So she decides that she can earn more money if she becomes an actual prostitute. So she does that. And like I said, in the first, like, it's just like every chapter has at least one sex scene. So yeah, it doesn't really have a plot. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. I enjoyed my time. Like I said, it's a smutty good time. So if you're looking for a good, or if you're looking for like a quick smutty novella, I would recommend this series. So yes, those were the 9 books I read so far this month. Like I said, I think there's gonna be another clip of me reviewing the other books I read in the first half of the month. And if not, I really want to thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.